Hello, everybody, and welcome back into another post-game show here on the YouTube channel here at the Hockey Writers. I am here joined by Ethan Carter and Kerry Collins, and we're covering this Blues Avalanche series. We're into Game 3 and moved locales to St. Louis, and we got another bounce-back game. Colorado Avalanche win 5-2. Two empty netters, so basically the final score is 3-2. With the two empty netters, it kind of makes it a little more inflated. But basically 3-2. Game winner was by Artturi Lehkonen, who was his third of the playoffs, ended up with 4 with the empty netter at the end there. But he had the game winner. O'Reilly made it close, made it 3-2, and then couldn't get the tying goal after a bunch of chances. Tarasenko, I don't know how many chances he had in this game, just couldn't bury it. So, Ethan, we'll start with you on that, is missed chances. I mean, Tarasenko, I don't know. I'd say at least he had 2 high danger chances that should have been goals. What'd you think of Tarasenko's game and the rest of the game in general?
Yeah, I think Tarasenko had a couple real close ones there, like you said. One thing that stood out to me, I think, was when O'Reilly makes it 3-2, you almost have Brandon Saad about 10 seconds later tie it up, and he missed that opportunity. And I mean, the main theme of this game is, for me, I think the Blues were done right when Binnington went out. So right when he goes out, I think it took the air out of the team. There's no excuse for losing this game for that sole reason, but the air was certainly taken out of the team when Husso came in, and he was fine. He was thrown into a tough situation. I think the Lehkonen goal that made it 3-2 is one that he probably wants back, or made it 3-1. Is one that he wants back, but just a tough situation for him. But overall, like you said, Tarasenko had a ton of chances and just couldn't bury them. And he's been doing that in the playoffs and actually burying them. This series, not so much, but he turned it on in Game 4 of the last series, and we'll see if he can do that in this one.
Yeah, so I mean, if he comes and does the same thing in Game 4, they're fine. Kerry, for the Avalanche, I mean, they, of course, bounced back, but that Binnington going out was, it helped them quite a bit. They had Samuel Girard go out early in the game too. Did you see any change when he got out? Because it went down to 5D, but, did that affect them as much? I mean, it probably didn't affect them as much as Binnington.
No, I mean, a bigger thing too with Binnington was I just took the air out of that building. I mean, you could hear him talking on the ice.
Yeah.
That was such a killer. When Girard got hit, I mean, the part of the problem with him is he's a little dude. And when he's that close to the dasher, bad things can happen. The biggest thing, if they lose any of those defensemen, because they play them all so much, it hurts them. And Girard's been a big part of what they are trying to do against a team like, St. Louis. I mean, he's gotten tons of shots on goal in this series. He's been pretty good, and just losing one of those defensemen because they cycle them pretty regularly. Yeah, Makar and Taves play the lion's share of minutes for sure, and they should. But it's losing a guy like that, he's been in it with them for a few years, and it hurts. Does it hurt as much as them losing Binnington? Absolutely not. I mean, before we started, I said, the Blues got the rotten end of that trade of if each of them's going to lose a guy. But I just think from the standpoint of you're playing at home, and that's such a huge advantage. And as soon as he was testing it out there, and he kind of just went down. And as soon as he did, the whole crowd just groaned. And I was like, oh no, this is going to take the life out of this building for the next hour, probably. And it certainly did. I mean, they're up 1-0 when that happens too. That's a big thing, because St. Louis scored the first goal in every game of this series. And like, those good starts are what Colorado's used to doing to teams, and St. Louis has been taking it right to them. It just really, it's like they shifted down a gear though when Binnington went out.
Yeah, I mean, staying on Binnington, Ethan, he's been so huge since he came in the Minnesota series. Did it look like an injury that could take him out of this series, or just a game? From your perspective, did it look like a major injury?
I don't know if I would say major, but it definitely looked like an injury that could take him out for the series. I think just the way that, like, the fact that he couldn't really even come close to testing out, or, I mean, I'm sure he wanted to stay in, but he just couldn't. And I want to address this. I mean, I'm not going to go after the entire fan base of the Blues, but I think it was easy for them to say that it was a dirty play by Kadri when it just wasn't. Like, that's a really fast play in real time. Obviously, Kadri has the reputation, rightfully so. I mean, he's been suspended a total of 27 games in his career, 6 different times, but that's just not a dirty play. It's just not. Like, him and Rosen are tied up. Neither of them has a chance to stop. I'm not going to call out people who haven't played hockey before, but I'm just saying, like, it's such a fast play. Like, there's no way that Kadri did that on purpose. So I just want to throw that out there. I think that's important to note because I see a lot of people, and it's what being a fan is. They're all in on their team. I know that. I mean, I'm a fan myself, but it's just not a dirty play. So it's an unfortunate
to
play.
sort of piggyback on that. If it's anybody else but Kadri, nobody says anything just because of reputation. And if Kadri did that intentionally with what was going on in that play, he's a much more skilled player than I ever thought he was. Yeah. Because for him to pull that off would have been something else, to do everything that he was like immersed in and then go, oh yeah, I'm going to see if I can knock out Binnington. There's just no way.
No, I agree. I didn't think it was a dirty play. And I was commenting during it and saying, all these guys, I got to clear the crease. I got to get the guy out of there. But you pile into your own goaltender by trying to do that. Now that play is probably taken him out of the series. And I've never understood that when, guys go in crazy trying to get the guy out of there, yet they go and pile him into your own goaltender. So, it's hard. And that's the thing when you're crashing the net. I mean, things happen. So, when he went down like that,
how many times do we see goaltender interference call when it's the own player pushing the opponent into the goaltender? It just happens all the time. Right. And with this case, Rosen is tied up with him and they just both go into him. So it's just an unfortunate injury coming at the worst time. And I have to say right now, I'm not going to speculate, but I would be very surprised if Binnington is available for the next game.
Yeah, it didn't look very good, especially like when he started stretching, like you said, Kerry, and he kind of went down and it looked like, he was in pain and it looked like something to do with his groin maybe. So, I mean, it's going to be tough. So, but Husso's not a bad goaltender. I mean, he was basically their starter for most of the season. He made some good saves once he settled in there after coming in. So, I mean, they're not screwed. I mean, it's not like they're bringing in like a third, fourth string goaltender. This is a guy that played a lot of the year and looked really good. So I don't think Blues fans should be worried, but when you look at how Binnington played and how dialed in he was, I mean, it is a big loss.
Yep.
Yeah. So looking ahead to, the next game, I mean, Ryan O'Reilly had a great game again, and he just keeps scoring. He's at 7 goals in the playoffs now. Looking ahead to game 4 now, game 4. And now that basically the Avs have home ice back. Kerry, what do the Avalanche have to do to keep this going? Because, I mean, they played a much better game. It seemed like they pressured the Blues a lot more. It was pretty even in shots, so it's not like it was, domination. But do you think the Avalanche have kind of brought back their game now that in this game after being kind of shut down in game 2?
Well, the guy that had a little more, jam and swagger in this one was Cale Makar. He just looked different than he did in those first 2 games. It looked like he was a little more tentative in those first 2 games, and he was great in this one. Writing some stuff or preparing some stuff before this series, and even looking at the first 2 games, he's only gone twice in his career where he's gone 3 games without scoring a point, and both of those were in his rookie season. So, which wasn't that long ago, I guess, but for him, that's a lot. He plays every night, so it was a long time ago. But you just sort of felt like something was coming, just because of his history in the past. And I think when he's skating, they're like that, they're better. And it's hard to argue, when that guy's flying around, that they're worse, I guess. But when he's flying around like that, they're tough to stop. And if they can get those, it'll be interesting to see. I don't know what happened with Girard. I mean, they took him to the hospital, from the rink. So it was like, it'll be interesting to see if, when they fill in those defensemen, or if they have to fill him in with another guy, if they can keep that flow going, because it's even guys like Josh Manson, have been pretty good in this series. So if their defensemen can stay involved and keep involved like they have been, particularly in this game, I thought they were really good. If that's what they need going forward, because if you look at the scoring lines, Landeskog started on the second line, but that didn't last very long. He was back up top by really the end of the first period. He was back up there with Mikko Rantanen and Nathan McKinnon.
Yeah.
Now that line did absolutely nothing in this game until they got like the half empty netter where Husso gets caught in no man's land. But they're getting that depth scoring. I mean, Lehkonen gets two. Guys like that, Kadri gets one. Guys like that if they're scoring, that takes so much pressure off those big guns, and they need that to keep going too. I mean, I just think if the defensemen are this involved, they're a tough team to beat. Now, can St. Louis do it? Yeah, absolutely. They showed it in game 2. So it's like they just need that level of play to maintain. It can't drop off with those defensemen. I think that's going to be a difference.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, speaking on depth, Ethan, really the big guys still haven't come. Tarasenko had a ton of chances, didn't score. O'Reilly, he's been scoring all the time. So what do the Blues need to do to kind of bounce back again, make adjustments? They need their depth scoring to start coming through as well, or their top line scoring.
I think after O'Reilly and Perron, I think that's been a bit of an issue in the playoffs. Barbashev, Buchnevich, and Shin and Thomas, 4 guys that scored 20 plus. Buchnevich had 30. None of those guys have scored in the playoffs, and they didn't need them against Minnesota. I think many reasons for that is because Minnesota had that everybody falling off even worse, because after Kaprizov they had nobody. But they're going to need Tarasenko to come alive a little bit. They're going to need Shin to come alive. They're going to need everybody except for really O'Reilly. Perron, I think Stodds had a solid series despite only scoring the 1 goal, and it was an empty netter. But they're going to need that. And I think another thing that they need to do in this game, in game 4 at least, is to realize that they have to play better in front of their goaltender, because I think the life of the building went out, and I think the life of the team went out a little bit because they got really sloppy early in the third. Like, they were mishandling the puck a lot. They almost had that I can't remember who it was for Colorado, almost had that breakaway. It was broken up by Rosen. It might have been Chuskin, I'm not sure. But it's just, you got to play better in front of your goaltender, and it's obviously helping if you're going to score goals. But the Blues pretty much played for the first 2 periods, most of the first period. They played a very similar game to game 2. It's just they weren't scoring as frequently. I think Kemper was great, but the Blues dominated the faceoff circle, 56%. I don't know if that's domination, but it is winning it. So they're going to have to play better in front of the goaltender. They're obviously going to have to get guys to wake up and score. That's Tarasenko really is the guy that you look at. When he has a game where he has that many good chances, doesn't score, I think it's a good bet that he's going to score in the next game. So that'll be a big key in game 4.
Oh, and you could see Tarasenko too getting frustrated.
Head to the rafters on the last one. He had right in front, put his head right up. He couldn't bury that. So
and that poor stick took a little abuse too. He got back to the bench.
I mean, both sides need some more scoring, because really it's a lot of the depth that's scoring right now. Like you said, Rantanen and McKinnon and them haven't scored yet. Linus still got the empty netter, but that's an empty net. So they need a lot of both sides need that to get going, to keep going, to win. So we'll see what happens in the next game. And but thanks guys for coming on another post-game show, and we'll see what happens in game my gosh, it's game 4. Game 4 when it comes up here. Lots of games going on. So round 2 is well underway, and lots of great hockey. Keep it locked on the YouTube channel for more post-game shows, and we will see you next time.